This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast. Hey, friends, welcome to All Have Another podcast with Lindsey Hein. I'm your host, Lindsey. Thanks for being here today. Whew, it has been a week. I was at the running event last week and then straight to CIM. We hosted a couple interviews at the expo at CIM. At TRE, I hosted an interview with Gabby Thomas, sponsored by AmazeFit, which was incredible. I also hosted a panel with Amelia Benton, Lauren Osborne, and Constantine Bonos. We talked about media and riding the wave of the hype and all the running excitement these days. So those were two great conversations at TRE. And then at CIM, we had a podcast with Road to the Trials with Mitch Amons, Steph Bruce, and the Stamata Tracksmith team. And of course, Jeff Cunningham. It was awesome to talk to all of these incredible humans in the run space. I just got back last night at 11 p.m. and already recorded a brand new, fresh episode for our wellness series, sponsored by Eternal, with the one and only Meghann Featherstun. If you are in the running world at all, you probably know her name. She is one of the most sought after sports dietitians in this industry. She's also a very fast runner. She's got a PR of 2:49:55. She has grown her nutrition business and is truly an expert in this space. She's a certified specialist in sports dietetics, helping runners and endurance athletes fuel their biggest, baddest goals. She's also the co-host of Fuel for the Soul and part of the Believe in the Run team over there. She's one of my favorite people in this industry. And in this episode, we talk about our experience at TRE. There were over 50 nutrition brands at TRE. Wild. We talk about some hot topic nutrition conversations like nicotine, GLP-1s, and I get the down low on fueling and recovering post-marathon. I know a lot of people listening have probably run a fall marathon. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I have not. But if you have, we talk about at the end of this conversation what recovery from that marathon can really look like. All right, this episode, this series, this is 9 of 10 episodes in our wellness series. I took a little break because life got a little hectic around Thanksgiving. But heading into Christmas, I was like, woo, we got to get these 2 last episodes in. This is sponsored by Eternal. They've really stepped up and supported the podcast, and they've got a great way for you to take care of your health and put it in your own hands with the help of some amazing experts. Eternal is a science-backed preventative health company built for anyone who takes their health and training seriously and wants to live up to their peak. Located in San Francisco and New York City, Eternal provides comprehensive integrated primary care services in addition to advanced testing, personalized health planning. They go beyond your biomarkers and data to provide real answers to any of your health concerns for proactive care, acute care, and expedited referrals to performance testing, physical therapy, and personal training. They're healthcare providers that care about you and the lifestyle you strive to live. Whether you're trying to hit a PR, avoid injury, or simply want a better handle on your health, Eternal gives you the full picture and a plan of action. It's the kind of primary care I've always dreamed was possible. Check them out at eternal.co and become a member today. That's eternal.co. Thanks again to Eternal for supporting personalized, evidence-based care for athletes like us. All right, friends, if you enjoy this series, please consider leaving us a quick rating and review on iTunes or wherever you're listening so we can continue to bring you conversations just like this. Enjoy my conversation with Meghann Featherstun. All right, friends, we are continuing our wellness series with the one and only Meghann Featherstun. Hello, Meghann.
Hello, Lindsey. I'm happy to be a part of this wellness series.
Listen, we just got to see each other at TRE. You and your cute black overalls. You guys are like, believe in the run, always in the like jumpsuits and overalls. It's too cute.
Yeah, I mean, they're really on brand. And every year it's a different little getup that everybody wears. And it's kind of nice because then vendors are like, oh, wait, you're a part of something, like it's kind of nice,
so
especially as
good.
I'm wandering around by myself, at all the nutrition stuff. So it's cool.
Okay, let's debrief a little bit about TRE. And then we'll get into some let's do some yay or nay on wellness trends type stuff.
Love it.
Anything that stood out to you, exciting nutrition-wise at TRE? I saw your newsletter.
Yes. So, I had this like epiphany when I was there this time because this is the third year that I've gone to TRE. And usually there's not a ton of sports dietitians that go, but there's over 50 nutrition vendors that are there. So, I mean, there's plenty to dive into there. But every time I've gone, I'm like, yeah, like I see some of the trends of sports nutrition and the products changing a little bit for it, but there's never anything like crazy, flashy new. And I kind of had this epiphany this time and I was like, well, with shoes, right? They're creating new foams and new plates and new technologies. Like, we can't really create new macronutrients. We can't really create new, do you know what I mean? So
It
it's
is what
like,
it is.
right. So there really isn't quite as much new flashy things in sports nutrition as there is in like shoe technology or apparel, or there were some really cool like hydration packs that they're doing different stuff with. But when it comes to nutrition, it's kind of usually just adapting some of the trends that I see. So some of the biggest things I saw were higher carb products, which is no shock because, a research study came out lately, right, about comparing 60 grams to 90 grams to 120 grams of carbs per hour. And really kind of the bottom line is the more we can tolerate, probably the better our performance is. So it makes sense. A couple of the brands had gels that were either 30 or 40 grams of carbs so that you could easily do like 30, 60, 90, so like people are thinking about the amount of carbs that are in their products to better assist people to meet some of those hourly goals. So that was, a little bit different. And then the last 2 years, there's been just a ton of electrolyte options, which again is not a shock, right? We see that on Instagram. It's like new electrolytes or more sodium in products. And, from my perspective, the amount of sodium runners need is so personalized. Like some people really don't need a ton because they don't sweat much, and then there's other people that are crazy heavy sweaters or really salty sweaters where it has to be planned per hour as well, the sodium piece. So it's just good to know what the options are, what gels have sodium, which gels don't. So I was kind of looking at that, and there are a lot of brands that traditionally didn't put a whole lot of sodium in their gels that kept those products, but then now also have higher sodium products available. And then the third thing was just more caffeine in products, which again is not a shocker. We know that probably 95% of us benefit from adding caffeine into endurance performance. It decreases our perceived effort, decreases our perception of pain, and kind of allows us to push a little bit harder. So it really is helpful to have that around for the second half of, a race, especially specifically marathon distance and beyond. But caffeine's tricky because it's super bitter. So it's hard to kind of hide it in products. So I was really impressed.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Like if you've ever tried like the Morton caffeine, because it's no flavor, so they're not covering it up. It's like crazy bitter compared to like the normal one. And it's just because there's 100 milligrams of caffeine in it. So some products did it better than others as I was trying them all. But the Nugs Energy Chews added 100 milligrams of caffeine. Did you try those?
I mean, Nugs just signed on to sponsor a bunch of shows in my network. And it's hard for me right now because as we've talked about, I've got this like Hoglund's thing, so I can't really run and I'm working on getting that fixed. But they taste so good. Like, they're
the
so
first
delicious.
Thing. Yeah. They have strawberry lemonade and poolside pop, I think they call it, which is like a bomb pop flavor. But
the blue raspberry just came out.
Yes. And I literally tried it expecting it to taste just a little bit off because there was that much caffeine in it. And I would have never known that there was I was like, you guys nailed this. So
the blue raspberry has caffeine.
Does it? Does that
no,
one
I'm
have...
asking. I don't know.
That one doesn't.
Okay, which one does?
The poolside pop and the strawberry lemonade both had caffeine. So I was pretty impressed by how well they covered that up in there because I know that's not an easy feat. And when I told Paige that, who's also a dietitian, one of the co-owners, she and her husband own it, she was like, "Thank you. No one realizes how hard this was." And I was like, "I do."
That's amazing. I love that so much. Yeah. I am curious. Well, okay. I have so many questions, but first, go back to the carbs really quick. So you say the more you take, the more you can tolerate, the better, right? It's so interesting to me. You as a runner yourself, and then you coaching athletes. I want to know what you tolerate an hour.
Yeah. I got myself up to the last marathon I raced was Berlin last fall, and I got 72 grams of carbs an hour, and that was the most I'd taken. And I was around 50 for a while, and then I pushed it to 60 the next
Okay.
year. And then the next year I pushed it to 70. So I very slowly kind of cranked mine up. Just because if we think about it, like we don't get good blood flow to our GI tract when we're running because it's preferentially going to our muscles to carry oxygen and then our skin to cool us off. So our stomach doesn't always know what to do with all that nutrition just because we don't have great perfusion to it. So some people have guts of steel and they can just jump right up to a higher gram of carbs. You're shaking your head. Yes, I can't. Like I have to slowly kind
No,
of
I
do
mean,
it.
I don't. No, I'm
Yeah.
just agreeing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then two, I don't think everybody needs to push the limit of carbs per hour. I think it depends on your performance goals. So if we're pushing our fitness to like a very extreme level, regardless of the pace, right? But if like we are working really, really hard at our marathon, we're going to benefit from kind of pushing those carbs up throughout our training, just because we're going to burn and oxidize more carbohydrates out there the harder we're working. So if we're going out there, I ran New York for fun. I didn't take 70 grams of carbs an hour. Like I still
Okay.
got,
What'd
at
you do?
least I probably got 60 grams, I would
Okay.
guess, but
You just
it
didn't
was
need it because you weren't working as hard.
right. So, I think it's good to always have that context. And like you said, when I work one-on-one with people, like what is our goal on race day so that we know like how much do we need to tinker with that nutrition in the background. Yeah.
It's interesting because when I recently interviewed Rory Linkletter, he was saying like there was a part of I hope I can regurgitate this well. There was a part of the Chicago Marathon where he was going too hard. Like he knew he was like running beyond what he needed to run. That's before he backed off a little bit. And he was saying like, I think he said like he actually ended up taking a little bit less because he knew based on how hard he was working, his body wouldn't be able to process it. Does that make sense?
Yes. And that was very smart of him. I saw him at the half and he looked great, but then I saw that his pace kind of dropped. So maybe he was. When we're in over our skis like that, like when we're pushing our intensity, or a good example for us normal runners would be like if we're working really hard in a workout. Like that's probably not when we want to take fuel, just because we get even less perfusion. Like things just don't empty from our stomach super well when we're working really, really hard. So like I had 1K repeats this morning and there weren't many of them because I'm just getting back in shape. But like if there were a ton, I would not take a gel. I would take a gel before I started and then not during it. You know what I mean? Because our body just isn't going to do great. Yeah, taking fuel. So that was smart of him.
Yeah, but then how do you practice that? Because like, we practice our gels on long runs and things like that. And you want to practice like getting a gel in while you're working hard. But you're saying like when you're doing the Ks, you're clearly running like way faster than marathon pace. So like your body's in a different state.
Right, exactly. And I think the best time to really tinker with it and play with it are those long runs.
Yeah.
So certainly we can get our body used to taking more fuel at any pace in a long run. But when we have those long runs that have those chunks of marathon pace in them, those are like perfect to fuel. I always try to encourage athletes to take their gels during those. Like some people would be like, I'm going to take it on the off mile. And I'm like, no, we need to
do it while you're moving.
Right. Get it out of our pocket, open it, take it, swallow it, feel it in our stomach at marathon pace so that that's not new on race day.
Okay, I want to go back to Noogs. You said there were over 50 nutrition brands at TRE, which I'm like, whoa, that is crazy. I was actually thinking about it when I was walking around because in this business, as you know, it's different because nutrition is your specialty. But like when I look at like bringing on sponsors for the show and things like that, it's like, okay, I just had a Tailwind sponsorship. I love Tailwind, but there's like so many other brands and it's like, do you just close yourself off to the other brands because you were like loyal to this brand for 3 months? But you can believe in multiple brands at once. And so we're actually dealing with this on Road to the Trials right now because we have a Nuke sponsorship and then Precision wants to come on. It's like, how do you balance that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
It's hard, right?
I know that's more of a business question than a nutrition question.
Yeah, it's hard. And I think, and I've worked with tons of different brands, and to be transparent, some of them have competing products, right?
Totally.
Like 3 different of the people I work with have chews, so that like they all have electrolyte drinks. So, I said this multiple times at TRE, when athletes come to me, I don't push specific products on them. I want to be educated on everything that's out there. So if there's something that's working for them, we're just going to make sure they're getting enough of it, right?
Yeah.
If something's not working for someone, clearly we're going to change and I'm going to give them suggestions. But, there's so many options out there. And I really don't think, I can only think of a couple products that I won't name that I don't think are great products, but most of them are
We'll
fantastic
go offline
products,
with that.
right? Most of them are really, really good. We have so many options at our fingertips. So, if somebody has a preference of one over another, so that being said, I like to be able to speak to all of the different products. So, we have a sponsorship on Fuel for the Soul with Runway, and they are absolutely fantastic because they're okay with me talking about other products, right?
Yeah.
They don't like shut us down that you can only speak about Runway, because then we wouldn't be credible, So that goes into my decisions with partnering with nutrition brands, is just like, are they okay that I might be partnering with somebody else, or I might be, but I typically have, some that I really value and really like the humans behind the brand. So I tend to stick with that a little bit more. But it is a little tricky, but I think we have to know our nutrition landscape is vast.
So vast.
It's really hard to, especially as a sports dietitian, I can't just pick one,
Right. Oh, totally. Yeah. We're kind of in
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
lanes here, but an example is I had Cure Hydration and I was like promoting their electrolyte drinks, which I love so much. And then when Tailwind was on, I was like, I'm going to focus on their recovery blend and things like that, so that we're not like promoting the same genre of product. But yeah, it's a little bit tricky. I'm kind of like wading the waters and working out. I mean, at the end of the day, though, if there's 50 brands at something like TRE, like at some point they're just they want the brand awareness, regardless of what podcast they're on. They need to get in front of ears and eyes,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And I love about Noogs, though, is that Paige is a dietitian, and she this is always like my favorite entrepreneur story. Like, she's a runner trying to solve a problem for herself. Like, she had a specific taste she wanted. She couldn't find it. She was training with like Sour Patch gummies and was like, no, I need like
sodium. That's what it started with. She was like, this needs more sodium. Candy doesn't have sodium in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you taking? Like Sour Patch Kids plus salt tabs, but like now get it all in one product. So, yeah. Okay. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about trends. I saw a headline on, or maybe it was linked on your newsletter, that you recently talked about nicotine on Fuel for the Soul. And I'm dying to know about this trend because there's this woman that keeps popping up on my Instagram feed. I think I actually followed her for a little bit because I was interested in like the skincare stuff she was talking about, but I had to ultimately unfollow because there was too much body stuff that I was like, I don't need to know about how much weight you lost when you didn't need to lose weight.
Right.
But she says she takes nicotine every day. And I'm like, what is happening in the world? Tell me, have you researched this? What are your thoughts?
Of course I did. And, with Thomas being on the podcast, he likes to bring in topics that I would never even think about covering, but it's fun. Like, so he was the one who kept sending me all these nicotine reels. And I actually wasn't aware of how prevalent it was. Like, I'm in my own little bubble on Instagram, I think, and I don't always see some of that. Now I do. Now it's in my feed because he sent me it all. But yeah, I didn't realize how many people were using. I had to like look up what these nicotine pouches were. I was like, what is this? Like, I was like so naive. I
mean, I just think like cigarettes when I think of nicotine.
Exactly. But I think the point of what you're saying is now it's not just like cigarettes or like a dip, which we associate with like males more so, or then the cigarettes, like, you stink, it's bad for your lungs. Like, I think we're very well aware, but they've done research on like nicotine for years and years and years, and it does increase dopamine in our brains. It increases alertness. Here's probably why she was doing it. It decreases appetite, right? So, which obviously in our world right now, a lot of wellness influencers are quote unquote focusing on things like that. So those are the three things that I see for the reasons people are doing it. But I think the most important thing to remember is those nicotine alternatives. So it used to just be like the gums, right? And now it's these like pouches that I noticed the other day at the gas station. They have like gingerbread flavor. And I mean, they're like fun holiday
pouches?
flavors.
Like, they're like
it's
gels?
like a pouch of nicotine that you like put where you would put like a dip in your mouth, like in the side, in your cheek.
Okay.
So you're absorbing it, so you're not going to smell like no one would know that you were doing it, right? So I think, we're seeing these things pop up, but then those things were created to help people get off of cigarettes because it's a lesser evil than cigarettes, but it doesn't mean that it's benign, right? It doesn't mean that like this is just okay to do, which is what I was perceiving from the reels that I was seeing and on Instagram, and you probably were too. People were acting like there's no downside to this. And it's like, yes, there is. Like, it's addictive
Yeah,
and it can
okay.
cause oral cancer and it can erode your gums.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Hmm.
Yikes. I know, because I'm like, why would I want to go down a path that makes me addicted to something?
Exactly. That's the concern there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's like a godsend for someone who actually like is a smoker and needs to
Right.
get off smoking.
Exactly.
It's
And
probably
that's right.
way like less concerning than
It's a
smoking
lesser evil
cigarettes.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we have to, so this weight loss conversation is so interesting in this niche that we're in because we talk to runners who are like very active people
Hmm.
by default. Like this is the way we live our lives and we're not necessarily like running to lose weight. I always said like I think one of the reasons I have had a pretty healthy relationship with food all my life is because I've always been really active. And so, like, I need to eat, I need the fuel, or else I won't be able to perform. And naturally, being an active person, I keep the weight off.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, but man, my lifestyle has changed. I don't run 50 miles a week. My body has changed. I'm 42. And I've gained probably 10 pounds, some of it in muscle, because I
Hmm.
lift more.
Hmm.
But I mean, I got a little belly that I don't love. I would like to embrace it, but I I don't like how it looks. Um, and I just feel like I am freaking flooded with this midlife weight loss noise. And I say midlife weight loss noise, and all I'm hearing is get rid of the food noise. And I'm like, well, I'm hungry,
Right. That food noise is actually really helpful because it is telling us that our body needs fuel, right? So
And
to get rid of that food noise, we have no cues to remind us, like, hey, you're more active today. You need to eat more, right? If we just don't have
yeah.
those cues anymore. Yeah.
This episode of I'll Have Another is sponsored by my favorite, Previnex. You all know I've been using them for years. I do not start my day without the Gut and Green Superfoods. Oh my gosh, I actually didn't have it with me on this week-long trip, and I was so frustrated that I did not pack it with me. The Superfood Greens powder is packed with organic greens, clinically studied gut health ingredients, and a clinically studied anti-aging ingredient that supports digestion, immunity, longevity, natural energy, and overall health. The price is right, the taste is right, and it is the best way to start your day. I used to just start my day with a glass of water, and now it's my water mixed with my Gut and Greens Superfoods. You can use the code LINDSEYSUPERFOODS. If you've already used my other code, Another, you can use the code LINDSEYSUPERFOODS to save 15% as long as the Gut and Green is in your cart. I would be remiss not to mention the Joint Health Plus. Their joint health supplement delivers ingredients that are clinically proven to offer the most comprehensive and complete joint protection and relief available on the market. You hear from runners and athletes like Emily Infeld who swear by the Joint Health Plus. They've also got an amazing protein powder. If you need a place to get the supplements your body is craving, go to Previnex.com. Use the code Another for 15% off your order. Thank you so much to Previnex for continuing to support this podcast and to support health and the bodies of these human beings listening to the show who are living an active lifestyle, who really care about the ingredients they put into their bodies. Previnex.com. Use the code Another for 15% off your order. All right, friends, back to the show. And I do realize, like, I'm a little bit blind here in that, like, I never had, like, a binge eating disorder or anything like that. And, like, there are people who, like, think about food 24/7 and obsess over it. So that is probably who these GLP-1s are truly for. But, I mean, I am seeing so many women who are on them that, like, I'm like, "You're a middle-aged woman, like, you don't need to lose weight, you're not." And
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
this, like, pressure and,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, just talk.
Yeah. So there's two thoughts that come to mind with that. So in my former life, when I was a clinical dietitian, I worked in, it was called population health. So I did a lot of like large scale wellness programming for our employees because we were self-insured, right? So if our employees cost us less in insurance, that was helpful. So I was in charge of, okay, here's the data. These are the type of health concerns that our employees have. It was a very large amount of employees, what can we do from a nutrition standpoint? What kind of programming can we put together to help with this? So one of them was, for a year, they were covering GLP-1s. And this was years ago, way before it was could be touched
Wow.
by anyone like it is now. And so it was my job to help these people change their lifestyle while they were on these
Okay.
medications. Because also, these medications, if you don't change how you're eating, you have a lot of negative side effects like nausea and vomiting. And because the GLP-1s slow down gastric emptying. So if you overeat, it can't empty, so it could come back up, right?
Oh.
So, we were not only were we trying to make this medication successful for these people because they needed it, right? They were morbidly obese. They had multiple health concerns. They had tried other lifestyle things, and then they wanted us to help with lifestyle in the background while these people were trying it. So we wanted better adherence to the medication, which helping with the side effects and educating. But then my goal was always like, I know at the time they were saying like, stay on it forever. But in my mind, I'm like, I want to teach these people, if the food noise is lower, we probably can be more conscious about building a healthy plate, right? So like I was trying to make sure that some of these side effects that I was a little questionable about, right, that I in the background was kind of teaching these folks how to also do it. And it was mixed results. Some people did great, some people did horrible, just as we would expect with any medication. But I was always a little skeptical of them. Some of these people, it was life-changing, right? When you're 500
Totally.
pounds and you can't chase after your kid, like
It's
when all of a
amazing
sudden
that
you
they
can
have
lose
that.
200, right? Like, so there is a use for them. And that was kind of where I was with them. So then to see them kind of trickle into not only the running community, but vanity weight loss. Because to be fair, what you're talking about with this middle-aged women using GLP-1 or quote unquote microdosing GLP-1s, I mean, that's a vanity piece, right? Like our bodies are not supposed to stay the same
Right.
as we age. They are going to change. We are going to lose muscle mass. We're going to put on muscle, different stages of life, different things happen, especially with females.
Right.
Um, I'm happy to see that we have more options for HRT if we're willing and able to do something like that. But I don't necessarily think that a GLP-1 should be pushed along with all of those things, right? And, to be transparent, your comment about, decreasing the food noise for someone who has binge eating or something like that. In my mind, I think it's really dangerous to slap that Band-Aid
Hmm.
on there
Hmm.
because then we're not fixing the problem,
Right.
right? We're just
Like
stopping the food
the
noise.
cognitive issue
Right.
that's going on.
Exactly. Like, why are we binge eating? Like, why did we get into this? Like, what's going on mentally? What's going on physically? Stressors. We use food as a coping mechanism.
Mm.
Everyone does. But some
Totally.
people over time build habits that is their only or their primary coping mechanism. So slapping this medication that just makes them not think about food is kind of just a poor Band-Aid in my mind. But that's a whole nother topic. But
That's a
I
great
have
point.
had some women that kind of fit the profile that you're saying, right? Middle-aged, unhappy that like 10, 15 pounds have been gained through hormonal changes. The other thing is the whole perimenopause, menopause just creates a lot of fatigue for women. So a lot of times it's just not sleeping well, then we're fatigued, so we don't have the time or the attention span to put to our nutrition, and we don't have the energy to work out as much. So a lot of times that's even a bigger piece of the body composition changes than the true hormonal changes. And in that case, there's no concrete answer of necessarily how to deal with all of that. But my concern is these GLP-1s speed up the rate of muscle loss.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously we're under fueling when we're on them is basically what's happening. So my concern is we're going to have like premature muscle wasting and premature osteoporosis in this subset of women in 10 years. I'm worried we're going to see broken hips at age 60 instead of 80 in
Mm-hmm.
women,
Mm.
So I think right now, unfortunately, we seem to be reverting back to that 1990s, like heroin chic. Everyone needs to be like grossly thin in order to be attractive. Whereas for so long, we worked so hard for
So hard.
body acceptance and strong is, beautiful and, embrace your body. And unfortunately, I feel like from the top, Hollywood-esque is totally changing that. And I'm worried that's going to kind of trickle down. And, the younger females that are growing up are going to think that that super, super skinny look is what's healthy. And that's just not attainable for 99% of us genetically.
Oh my gosh. I don't, I have so many thoughts. I'm like, I was talking to my best friend Allie this weekend about the GLP-1 stuff. And we were having lunch and we were like, how did we both get out of the like 1990s, early 2000s?
Unscathed.
Yes.
It is very impressive.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, how did we both do that? And I think
Yeah.
she was like, well, I think she's like, she's naturally like not a large person.
Hmm.
And I think we honestly like that has something to do with it. Like she doesn't have to work super hard to lose weight or stay like this like consistent weight.
Hmm.
And then I said what I said earlier, like I've always worked out. Like it's always kind of just like,
Hmm.
this has always been a huge priority in my life. Honestly, though, I think more mental than anything,
Hmm.
the working out piece. I've always known
Hmm.
the exercise piece was like for my mental health.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're
Hmm.
sending this message to 13, 14, 15-year-old girls. They're seeing their moms. They're seeing, like you said, the Hollywood pictures.
Hmm.
We're sending this message that like this is what we want to look like.
Right.
But yeah, it's hard. Like
Hmm.
it's kind of sad to think these girls are seeing that
Hmm.
again
Yeah,
and
it's terrifying.
obsessing. The teenagers are obsessing over protein. I mean, it's trickling down so hard. I mean, what you say, they hear, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm. Right. We have to be very conscious of how, yeah. The other day, both my kids are swimmers, and my son was like, I was burning the calories, and my head like shot around, and I was like, and I tried to like my visceral reaction was to be like, what the heck did you just say?
Yeah,
And I
what
was
are you
like,
talking
calm
about?
down, don't respond. So I was just like, hey, buddy, like, where did you hear that? And he was like, YouTube. And I was like, ah,
Mm.
like, we can try so hard to shape how we speak about people's bodies and activity and nutrition at home. But I'm like, shoot, where did you hear that? Like, this is
They're
not.
going to hear it.
And he, that's clearly not at all why he's swimming. He absolutely loves it. But even just that comment was just like, oh my gosh, like,
Uh-oh.
where did that come from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious how you talk to your kids about that because I
Hmm.
I mean, I mean, I've had conversations like energy in, energy out. Like you're
Hmm.
like you need these calories to fuel your body so that you
Hmm.
can go live this like active life and like run around and have energy.
Hmm.
My oldest is 13 and for the first time he said something about needing more protein. Because
Hmm.
the boys actually, how old is your son?
He's 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
The boys actually, there's a thing with like wanting abs and like I don't
Yep.
remember that being a thing when the boys really caring about that at like 12, 13, 14. And I told him with the protein, I was like, you know what? Protein's really good for you. So are
Hmm.
carbohydrates. Like you just need a full, well-balanced plate. And
Yep.
also, you are the most active kid I have ever met. You just need to eat and
Hmm.
fuel your body.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That's why we talk about balance. We talk about energy. There's always fruits and vegetables on their plate, and there's always protein, there's always carbs. And if they're still hungry, I'm like, did you eat your protein at dinner?
Yeah.
We just talk about like our bodies need it all.
Yeah.
And, nothing is restricted. We keep everything in this house. Like some of their friends will come over and be like, there's candy and goldfish. And I'm
Yeah.
like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to not have things in this house, right? Like, I don't want anything to be forbidden or anything to be good or bad so we just kind of keep it all very neutral, keep the discussion very neutral, and just making sure that we're giving our body the energy that it needs, and just gosh, hope that everything turns out all right. But yeah, I mean, my
Yeah, I know.
daughter's 10, and 2 years ago she mentioned that her body didn't look like the girls at dance, and I was just
Mm,
heartbroken, and
yeah.
it was just her noticing things look different. So
She's
we've
noticing.
had conversations about how genetically everybody's body is different. And my mommy's body looked exactly like yours when I was 8 years old. And, we are clones of each other in so many ways. And, luckily it passed and she hasn't said anything in 2 years. So I think we just have to be open and have honest conversations and just be really careful with how, we respond in those moments, right? When things come up to just try to. And the other thing is, I know I'm sure you are too, is I just always tell my kids to talk to me. Like if something's on
Yeah.
your mind, tell me. Like don't keep anything to yourself. Like talk it through with me, because I think that's where sometimes thoughts twirl and turn into like a negative action or something like that. So
Yeah, I think too, I try to like I always acknowledge what they're saying, and then if I don't know how to respond, I'll say like, "I'm gonna think about that," and like,
it's good.
let's yeah, because like
Yeah.
you don't want to just like throw out there what comes to mind right away, because like maybe you need to think through how you want to respond to that.
Exactly.
I want to read to you this comment that my very good friend. So I posted, I don't know if you saw, I posted about GLP-1s the other day.
No,
Like,
it didn't show up my algorithm. Shocking.
Yeah, I just posted like this video of like, I was like lifting, I like threw my shirt off and like you can like see my belly, and was lifting weights, and I was like, the midlife weight loss noise is so loud.
So loud. Yes.
And then I said, like, our bodies are meant to change, keep going. Because that's what when I notice that my body has changed, I like acknowledge that, and I'm like, and you work out 6 days a week, you are mindful about what you eat, you enjoy food, and you're active. Okay. Well, I texted my friend right away because she is on GLP-1, and I was like, please don't get offended by this post. I love you so much. I'm so happy this is working out for you.
Right.
I don't want to offend you. And she, to be fair, like she will say she needed to lose weight. And it's been hugely, hugely successful for her. Okay, let me read you her comment, because she was like, do you care if I say this? And I was like, no, you say whatever you want. It's your, like, yeah. Okay. This is kind of long, but she said, love this message and completely agree. I also love the added paragraph at the end. I added, if you are in a place where a drug or huge lifestyle shift has changed your life and helped your health, then that's incredible. I'm so happy you've had that option. I am speaking to a camp of people who probably don't need to lose weight for their health, but feel pressured to because of this culture shift.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So she says, love this message and completely agree. I also love the added paragraph at the end. GLP-1s are the reason I can move my body more now. All bodies are different and need different things. Weight loss has been a pleasant side effect of GLPs, but the best part is all my blood work improvements, including the drastic decrease in cholesterol numbers, blood pressure, and fasting glucose. I have a family history of type 2 diabetes. So while it's frustrating to feel like society wants us all skinny, I wouldn't want folks who truly could benefit long-term from GLPs to not consider them just because they are being lumped into quick fixes for losing weight. They are miracle drugs for folks who need them. Proud to say I can now lift heavy weights, play pickleball for hours, and my body just feels better. I know the target of your post is for people who are feeling the pressure to lose weight, but wanted to offer my perspective since I'm using them. I have lost weight, but I don't want anyone to think weight loss was my goal. My overall health was. Love you.
And I think they were created for a reason. And they were created to meet a need for people that actually, like she's saying, that needed help. Genetically, some of us are really prone to type 2 diabetes, to cardiac disease, to holding more body weight that is not conducive to those genetic traits that we could potentially have. So I absolutely think these drugs have a place. I just think they're getting completely out of control in other realms, right? Yeah. So I totally agree with what she's saying. And I think, it's so nuanced, all of this is, all of medicine is. It's not that I want these drugs to go away. It's just I want people to think twice before they take them if it's for more vanity reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, I've thought about it. I'm like, ooh, what's this microdosing? Like, what if I just take the tiniest bit and like, but I'm not going to, but like, it's crossed my mind because it's everywhere.
Yeah. And I've had 3 clients come to me that have, for exactly what we're talking about right here. And I love that they trust me enough, even though they know how I feel about it, to be like, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm feeling. Can we talk about this? Right.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful for me to see what's going on in the background for someone who's training for a marathon that's microdosing with a GLP-1. And again, this is an N of 3, but all 3 of them had to come off of it because they were unable to complete long runs. They weren't able to fuel enough on long runs. I really think that the delayed gastric emptying, we're not getting the carbs that we're taking at the right time, and we're quote unquote hitting the wall, almost like we're not fueling while we're out there. And I'm wondering in the background if it is changing something about how we're oxidizing carbohydrates while we're running, because all 3 of them told the same story, that they just could not hit paces. They could not sustain long runs. They felt horrible, no matter how well they tried to fuel around it performance wise. So from a performance standpoint, right? Like if we're running for performance, I have not seen that people are hitting their potential while microdosing with the GLP-1, even though they have lost weight. So it's very intriguing to me. And again, this is all new, and
Right.
there's no research on endurance
Like a
runners.
runner taking them.
No, not at all. So I'm very open and intrigued to have conversations with people who have done it, or just because I can learn a little bit in the background about, how people are experiencing it.
Yeah, that's why this conversation I feel like is so interesting on this podcast, because it is a podcast for runners. And I'm 42. I started this podcast when I was 32. And like my audience, yeah, we have a demographic of people 16 to 80, you know, or how, I don't know the range, but it's big.
Yeah.
But my core demographic has grown with me.
Mhm.
A lot of
I
these
agree.
people started listening because they were like young moms who run, and they like, related to things that I was talking about. So we've kind of grown up together, and now we're all seeing this trend, but it is a specific running
Yes.
community. So it's different than what my
Yeah.
friend was saying.
Exactly.
I will say she lifts like multiple times a week. So like, I wonder what the research is on because you said that like the muscle and
So
like
if she's lifting and she's getting
doing
enough
it.
protein,
Yeah.
she's probably minimizing that. But a lot of it, when people are just taking it without knowing what they need to be doing nutritionally, their appetite's so poor, they're not getting adequate protein, right? And then a lot of people aren't necessarily lifting. So that's the concern. Like if somebody is truly taking it for medical reasons, like your friend, and they're really conscious to hit their protein 3 times a day and keep up with nutrition, not just like not eat and then lift, they're probably going to keep some of that body composition a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's things we can do to minimize that loss for sure.
Right. Because if you're doing all the things, or if you're taking the medicine, but you're not doing those things, is it worth like the diabetes risk or whatever? Like, but then you're like risking if you fall and break your hip. Like
we're trading. There's like a trade-off here, right? Yeah. Like one of the first research studies that came out about these GLP-1s was doing body composition testing on these people. And it was showing that 2/3 of the weight that they lost was muscle. I mean, that's wild.
Yikes.
Like that's terrifying,
Yikes.
right? So again, with strategic changes, I think we can certainly minimize that. But anytime we lose weight, we're always going to lose some muscle mass, no matter how attentive we are to those pieces and parts. It's just the nature of the beast. Like we can't just target 100% fat loss. Like it's just not how our body works.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's certainly ways to minimize it.
Muscle weighs. Like I was, my friend that I was talking to you about, like she mentioned something about how much she weighs, and I was like, oh, I haven't weighed myself in probably 6 months, but I was like, I guarantee I'm like 10 pounds heavier than that. And I was like, Lindsay, you lift weights 3 days a week. Like muscle weighs, you know? What was I going to say? Oh, I had another comment on that post. Mostly it was all super positive, but I had another comment that was super negative, like, oh, come on, give me a break. These drugs are life-changing. They're not for this, that. And I'm like, oh, there are college girls that are taking this medicine to lose weight for like events and things like that. So like, right, we say it a million times. It is life-changing for some people, but like when you have a college girl,
it's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, that's really
It is
sad.
like it's just, okay, so many thoughts.
Yeah.
All right. Whoo, man, you all know I could talk about this for hours.
Same.
I really like hearing your perspective on it though, Meghann. Like I think it's important to have the conversation. And the other thing is there is a stigma going on it. Like I'm not trying to shame anybody
not at all.
who is doing it. It's just I think it just goes back to, in my heart, accepting that at 42, my body is probably meant to look how it looks right now. I'm active. I'm not running like I used to. And, I don't know. It's an acceptance thing. I guess that's just it. It's a lifelong acceptance thing.
Yeah. And to your point, it's hard to embrace that acceptance when you're seeing all this other noise around you, right? It makes it harder to be like, okay, this is what our bodies are supposed to do as we get older, right? They're going to change. Yeah.
And I don't want to be hungry all the time, so I'm going to eat.
Heck no.
A full plate. This episode of the podcast is supported by Noogs Go to noogsnutrition.com to check them out. Oh my gosh, these are the best sour energy chews you can get your hands on. Fuel up with carbs, electrolytes, and seriously fun flavors. They have a new blue raspberry blast sour energy chew. Do you like Sour Patch Kids? I'm obsessed with Sour Patch Kids. And if that is the taste that you are looking for and you want all the electrolytes you need on your run, check out Noogs. They are quick digesting carbs made with a blend of glucose and fructose designed for rapid absorption and quick energy that keeps you moving. Here's the deal. These were created by a dietitian, Paige. She loved Sour Patch Kids and she loved fueling with them, but she knew that that wasn't all her body. Her body needed more. Her body needed more than the Sour Patch Kids when she was training and running marathons. Paige, who is a dietitian, created a sports nutrition product she could actually look forward to eating. She had experimented with all kinds of gels and chews while training, struggling to find something she enjoyed. So she created what she was looking for. You've got carbs, electrolytes, and delicious flavors in your Noogs Sour Energy Chews. The ingredients include 70 calories, 19 grams of carbs, 150 milligrams of sodium, and 50 milligrams of potassium. Noogs are proud to support community, purpose, and confidence through an active lifestyle. Okay, if you're looking for something fun and effective to train with, go to noogsnutrition.com and you can use the code ANOTHER15 for 15% off your first order. That's noogsnutrition.com. Use the code ANOTHER15 for 15% off your first order. I will say also, if you are an active family and you go out on hikes with your kids and you run around with them, this is a really fun thing to pack in the backpack to give them a little treat and energy boost when you're out and about. Noogsnutrition.com. Code ANOTHER15 for 15% off your first order. All right, friends, back to the show. So a lot of people are just wrapping up fall marathon season. We just saw like insane performances at CIM.
55 women qualified for the trials?
I think so.
I mind blown with that faster time. I'm like, holy cow, women are having a moment.
Well, it was almost like once they changed the standard to 2:37, it was like our running culture needed a minute to like grasp that.
Yeah.
And like feel like, okay, 2:45, 2:37. We've
I'm
grasped it.
Are they going to have to change it again?
Oh my
55
gosh.
women in one marathon? Like, that was the first thing I thought about. I was like, is 2:37 too slow
Well, I
these
know.
days?
And I'm like, should it be 2:35? That's crazy.
It's nuts. I thought it was crazy when they changed it to 2:37, and look at all these women rise into the occasion. It's so incredible.
Well, and a great example is like Jenny Grimshaw, who for the 2024 cycle, qualified. Was it 2024 or 2020? 2020 qualified with the 2:45, and like that was a big goal for her. She just freaking ran 2:32.
Unbelievable. She's insane. That's
Insane.
in the best way possible. Yeah.
Right. So, but her story shows you that like, oh, it is possible.
Yep.
But let's talk about recovering from these fall marathons and like, also, I mean, this can kind of go in hand with the GLP-1 conversation, because when you do take time off running a little bit, you're recovering and you take a little break, which is really good for our minds and our bodies. Your body's probably going to change a little bit, right?
It might. Yeah.
Maybe.
It might.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Talk to us about recovering from these fall marathons and not obsessing over food and training, giving ourselves a break.
I think the most important thing to consider that I don't think people consider is, so say we're taking a week or 2 weeks off after our race. I think people immediately are, if they're conscious of exactly what you're saying, if they're worried about bodies changing or nutrition or things like that, the thought is, I'm not running for this amount of time. I need to scale back. But if you truly look at what's happening in our body from a recovery process, our energy needs are through the roof for 3 to 4 days, like so much higher. And anyone who has good communication of their hunger fullness signals, I think can relate to that because like I am starving for days after my marathon. Like every hour I'm like, and I need another snack. Your metabolism is just through the roof trying to recover from that effort and repair the muscles. And, there's even like the micro little things like we break down some of the cells in our GI tract and we have to repair those. Like there's so much repair going on in our body after we race and run a marathon that I always try to tell people, like, please, please, please do not scale back nutrition 4, 5, 6 days after your race. Like, do not consciously tell yourself, like, hey, I'm not doing as much. I don't need to eat as much because that's really going to negatively impact that recovery process. Like, if we're taking that time off, if our goal is to truly recover, we have got to fuel in order to recover from that. And if our appetite's not awesome, we need to just make sure we're being conscious of hitting our protein, getting enough carbs, getting enough total energy to really make sure that we're recovering from that. And then it's like, okay, so if we're really taking some time off, maybe we're even taking a couple months down and really kind of resetting. That's where we can start thinking about, okay, and this is hard for some people because we've had to eat so much more if we're
Right.
running 50, 60 miles a week to all of a sudden scaling back to just like normal maintenance nutrition. Like some people are like, I'm so used to eating these massive portions. Like what do I do? Right. So really kind of relearning of like, what does my body need in this off season when I'm not moving my body as much? It still needs carbs. It still needs protein. It needs all the color. But I always try to kind of think about like if somebody had to scale back fiber when they were training hard, like use this as an opportunity to like make some of those soups or dishes or some of the pasta salads I have that are full of veggies, like do that would still have the protein and the carbs. And maybe we're just focusing on adding more color onto our plate instead of thinking about it as like restricting something. We're just kind of thinking about, okay, this is what I needed during my training and during my down season once I've recovered from that race. And if I truly am scaling back my activity, then we can kind of start to tweak and maybe our plate has a little more veggies into where the carbs spilled into, and we're just kind of like altering that a little bit. But I still want to make sure everything is included. I think sometimes the runner mindset of all or nothing can trickle into that nutrition. So it's just making sure that we're keeping that pretty balanced in the off season. But to be fair, right, if we're not running all the miles, like we can scale quantities of things back a little bit, but just not intentionally restrict or intentionally like limit things, right? Like really kind of listening to our appetite more.
Yeah, I mean, you're naturally not as hungry. I mean,
Right.
there's a
Mm-hmm.
shift. It just
Mm-hmm.
happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, I do have one more question about this before we wrap. The fiber thing, I always wondered about that because like the older we get, it's like, you need fiber, And I know that's really good for us, but like
Mm-hmm.
if you scale back fiber when you're marathon training because it causes GI distress,
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like you're scaling back so much because it's like once a week you're doing a long run. Like, how many days are you really scaling back? And like long term, is that really good for you? I'm so curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good question. And I think it depends on everyone. Like I have some athletes I work with that are vegan that are seriously probably eating 40 to 45
Yeah.
grams of fiber a day and running 50 miles a week and totally fine. So like some people's GI tracts are totally fine with fiber. But then I do have some people who, as the miles tick up, they're just almost like things are going through way too quick, right? So it's like if we're adding fiber to that, like sometimes that is going to cause additional issues. So it really is very, very personalized. But I mean, truthfully, like back the research that looked at like increased risk of colon cancer and fiber intake, the biggest thing is that like you're eliminating, right? It's when things
That's what
sit
you
in
need to
there too
do.
long.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So like if you're still going every day, but you're
Yeah.
eating less fiber while you're running, like I'm not worried about that. Just make sure
Okay.
you're getting colors and you're getting, obviously there's more micronutrients in whole grains that haven't been processed, but we're also eating more. So the likelihood that we're getting those micronutrients through something else is pretty darn high. So,
Okay.
it's kind of a balance. But yes, I mean, that's another trend is this whole fiber maxing and how much fiber can we eat? And, it's protein, fiber, like let's get
I
it all.
know.
Yeah,
It's overwhelming.
it is. It is.
Every time I think about, should I just like track it for a week just to see how much I'm getting in?
Yeah.
I kind of want to, but then I'm kind of like, I've always just been so like, I don't want to obsess over food,
Yeah. And sometimes tracking can be a slippery slope. I don't think it would
Right?
be for you, but for some people, that's like a trigger to
Yeah.
some disordered eating, so it always have to be really careful. Like when I track with clients, we don't track numbers at all.
Yeah.
We track like the what and the when so that I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
see what they're up to and help that way, but that we're not like obsessing over numbers because that can cause issues sometimes. Not for everybody, but yeah.
Right. Overthinking it.
Mhm.
Oh, Meghann, you are awesome. Thank you for doing this so quickly too.
course.
Meghann and I saw each other at Thierry, and I have 2 more episodes of this wellness series. And I was like, we just talked. She's the perfect guest for this series. We got to get this in before the end of
Let's do it.
December. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. You're
It's
the best.
perfect.
So,
Yeah.
you all can check out Meghann, Featherstone Nutrition.
Yep.
Is it .com?
Featherstonenutrition.com. Yep.
And Fuel for the Soul, who she hosts that with Meghann with Believe in the Run.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing all the stuff. So good.
It's so fun. It keeps life exciting, It's like you got a lot of buckets that you got your hands in and, nothing ever gets boring.
So good. Oh, thank you so much, Meghann.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Take care.
Thank you so much to Meghann for joining us today. You rock. So grateful to know you and to have you as a resource in this world of running and nutrition. Go to featherstonenutrition.com to learn more about what Meghann's doing. Her podcast, also Fuel for the Soul, is a great resource if you're looking to dive deep into the nutrition side of training. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Eternal for supporting this wellness series. We've got one more episode coming out on the wellness series before the end of the year. Go to eternal.co to learn more about their business and get a healthcare provider that can help you meet all of your goals. They are based out of New York City and San Francisco. Learn more about this show and all the shows in our network at sandyboyproductions.com. We've got a ton of episodes coming out on Road to the Trials. We are interviewing all of these people who have qualified for the Olympic trials, and we're going to be carrying that project on through 2028. We'd love to have you join us over there. It's just called Road to the Trials. I'm hosting that with Peter Bromka and Matt Chinham. All right, friends, thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time on I'll Have Another with Lindsey Hein podcast.